Dear brothers and sisters, Namaskar. Today I have come here with a special subject, that is life, death, and after death, that is rebirth. This is not something religious concept. This is not something mythological concept, but it is the science which has been described or introduced a new science, the science of action, by Sri Sri Ananda Murthy ji, Baba Sri Sri Ananda Murthy ji. If you know the science of action, then you cannot escape the domain. You cannot escape the consequence of your action, or you cannot escape from the resultant and the consequence of your action. That's why, to know the science of action, we need to think properly. We need to think with your conscience. Then alone we can understand the inner purport of action and the resultant of action. Before we go to the subject of action, first we should know what is life, what is death. Then we can talk about the rebirth. According to science, the physical science, the life is a balance. Balance of wavelengths, balance of waves. When we see any objects or any entity by kaleidoscope, we can see the entire world, entire cosmology is a panoramic phenomenon. Panorama all around, waves and waves all around, different kinds of waves, crude, subtle, subtler, entire world is a panorama. So, what exactly this physical body is? What exactly the mind is? What does it look like? And what does the soul look like? And what is the relation between body, mind and the soul? Here, Baba Ananda Murthy ji says that this physical body is just a machine, a biological machine. But this biological machine cannot work unless there is a driver. And that very driver is the mind. So in absence of mind, this body doesn't work, doesn't act. And what is the soul? The soul is the witnessing counterpart. Soul witnesses that you do exist or I do exist. The subjective part which witness is the soul, and which is witnessed, that is the world and this physical body. Baba has given a very simple example. about the body, mind, and the soul. Body is just like a tumbler, and mind is the water in the tumbler, or a tumbler, or a container. The mind is just like a water in the container, and the soul is the reflection of that supreme cognition unto human mind. Suppose you have 3 tumblers full of water, and you just switched on one bulb above. So when you look into the tumbler or a container, you find there is a reflection, 3 reflections in that. So the container is the physical body, and the mind is just like water. The very characteristics of water is to take the form and the color of the container. That is the character of the water. So the mind is also takes the form of its subject of ideation. Mind cannot remain without the subject. Mind needs a subject each and every moment. Mind moves from one subject to another. It needs a subject. If subject of ideation is crude or material object, then naturally the mind, the ectoplasmic stuff of mind, will take the form of that crude object. If the subject of ideation is abstract, then mind goes toward the abstract. Subtlification, gradual subtlification, it goes toward abstraction. This is abstract. And what is the soul? Soul is the reflection. Reflection exists with the existence of mind. If mind is dissolved, the soul is dissolved. So, the container is the body, mind is the water, and the reflection. The mind is the reflecting plate of the supreme cognition. That very reflection we can soul. So, life is the balance between the body, mind, and the soul. This is called life. And then what is death? Death means dissociation of psychic wave from the physical wave. Detachment of psychic wave from this physical wave. And this detachment or dissociation takes place because of ailments, diseases, accident. Because of the continuous diseases and ailments or accident, the mind feels uncongenial, unsuitable to this body. Then mind detached from this body. Then what happens with the body? This body merges with the 5 quincal mental factors, 5 fundamental factors: solid, liquid, igneous, aerial, and ethereal. When it is burnt into ashes, it merges with the soil, merges with the earth. But the mind cannot be burnt because it is not a corporeal structure. It is not a carbonic structure. It is an abstract structure. So after death, the mind still exists with its memory, extracerebral memory, and the deeds, the reactive momenta. What is the reactive momenta? Whatever you did by your action or by your thought, all the resultants that has a impression on your subconscious mind. That very impression or reaction of your action in potential form. You have done the work, but the reaction remains in subconscious mind in potential form. That very potential form, it is called reactive momenta, according to Newton, the great scientist Newton. As you think, so you become. It means your personality, your character, your manifestation, your expression, it all depends on your subject of ideation. As you think, so you become. Suppose a man always remains with a pet animals, thinking of pet animals, living with pet animals, then what will happen? The ectoplasm of human mind that will attach to the animals, pet animals. So gradually all animal qualities will transfer to your ectoplasm. Your behavior become like an animal. But it doesn't happen with the dogs or other animals, because when the animals comes with the contact of developed human, the animals, they imitate the qualities of human. So naturally their mind is upgraded, but human mind degrades, degenerates because of subject of ideation. Here Baba says a man should pet animals, cares an animal is okay, but must not be so much involved and infatuated with the animal. If not, it causes the degeneration. At the same time, if a carpenter works with the woods day and night, entire his ectoplasmic stuff converts into woods. If a person think of a stone day and night, ectoplasmic stuff converts into stony. It means crudification ectoplasm. But if the same human being, same mind, thinks of the higher thing, the subtler thing, then it gradually transcend or transform toward the subtlety, the subtlification. So subtlification is the movement of perfection, and the crudification is the movement of degeneration. So human mind's subjects should be always upward, not downward. If your subject is the crude one, material one, if you run after the money, matter, name, fame, then naturally your mind degenerates. But when you think of something higher than this material achievement, then mind goes more higher and higher, transforms, gradual transformation of mind. Mind is completely subtlified with the great entity. So, what happens after death? All your reactive momenta remains your mind in subconscious mind is subtle form, and all your extracerebral memory and few factors, igneous factor, ethereal factor, that moves in this cosmos. For what? To manifest its reactive momenta, to meet the consequences whatever you did, to express or to manifest or to get the consequences in action. You need a base, another base, the container. So the mind with that reactive momenta moves in the cosmos is called disembodied body. It has body, but it is a mental body, but there is no physical corporeal structure, so it cannot express. So it runs after, moves around to find a new body. And that body will be chosen, will be selected according to the vibration of your reactive momenta. If it is the cruder vibration, then the mind will find a cruder base, cruder container that may be a container of an animal, brute animal, cruel animal, hogs, lion, cats, dogs, bees, flies, ants, woods, stone, plants, flora and fauna. Or you may upgrade your standard if you have done virtuous thing, constructive thing, the activities of welfare, ideation of the great, ideation of the supreme, ascribing Brahmahood in everything, taking the ideation of supreme in each and every limited objects. So what happens? The mind transforms. So when after death, body is disembodied, mind is disembodied, then it finds a higher container, maybe a higher than a human. That's why you'll find a small child, a small baby, he becomes so intelligent, even in the at the age of 2, 3, or 5, or some are tougher, even at the age of 12 or 20 or 30. It is all because what you did in the past. The resultant in potential form of this life will become your sanskara for the next life. So your action determines what are you going to do in the next life. Because unless until you meet the consequences of your action, you cannot move, you cannot escape. You cannot escape the theory that each and every action has equal and opposite reaction. Whatever you do, that remains. Energy is never dissolved. And this potential form of all your action, this all are energy that remains in subtle form of subconscious mind. So your disembodied body moves. So life and death, again rebirth, it continues. Is a constant flow. This is the flow of this universe. Then agachati sagachati, which comes, it has to go. But again he has to come, again he has to go. But this agony, the pain, grief of this life and death has to be overcome. It can be, a person can get rid of these bondages of life and death and rebirth only by dint of intuitional practice, only by the spiritual practices. Because in intuitional practice, spiritual practices, mind selects its subject of ideation, and the subject of ideation of a sadhaka or a spiritual aspirant is the supreme Brahma, that supreme consciousness, the hub of this universe, the nucleus of this universe, creator of this universe, the progenitor of this universe. He is the goal of life. That's why it is said, sadhana is the mean. The morality is the base, sadhana is the mean, and the life divine is the goal. It means if you have a moral base, you do the good work, virtuous work, then naturally your mind transform, and your target is the supreme. It transforms into the higher and higher, and more subtler. Then naturally you are upgraded. Go on upgrading until you merge that highest stance of life. That is the supremehood. That is the state of salvation. That is the state of liberation. That is the salvation from the bondages of action. Bondages of life, death, and rebirth. So, this is the science of action, which everyone has to go through. Everyone has to go through the consequences of their deeds. So that's why we cannot escape. So only the spiritual path of liberty, path of salvation can liberate entire humanity from darkness to enlightenment, from the bondages or from the various bondages. So this is death, rebirth, and life, death, and rebirth. So brothers and sisters, if you really like this video, please subscribe my YouTube channel by pressing the red button, so that whenever I make a new video, it goes to you immediately. Bell icon or subscribe the red button. That will be good for you, and please share it. If you like it, suggestion it, then sure, please subscribe it, so that this video is promoted and go to each and every human being for their welfare. Thank you so much. Namaskar.